What's up, everybody? We made it to NFL Week 2 of our Survivor Leagues. I take it you're watching this video because you were successful in Week 1. If this video is helping you out in your Survivor Leagues and getting you through the league, definitely give it a like. Hit us up with a subscribe so you keep getting this videos and this Survivor Hub week in and week out. Taking a look at the teams that I'm identifying in Week 2 as potential picks, all the way from the Colts at 4.5 point favorites, all the way up to the Rams, who are favored by almost 2 touchdowns, despite their loss against the Bills this last Thursday. Taking a look at this, obviously you're going to want to pick a team for the most part that's favored by a higher spread and therefore higher odds to win. And also, a lot of these teams too are home teams in non-divisional matchups, so that's definitely something you're going to want to hone in on. As we do in each video too, we're taking a look at the upcoming schedule for the foreseeable future for these teams to try to identify teams that, there are teams like the Packers where I identify them as having a lot of different games throughout the season where you could pick them in Survivor, or a team like, the Browns or the Rams that have a lot less options later in the season. So that's something to keep in mind as well. We're talking about teams that I think you should be cautious about. Obviously, one of those teams is the Colts. Really, you shouldn't be considering the Colts all that much this week, just given their 4.5 point spread on the road against a divisional opponent. There are going to be plenty of opportunities where the Colts are heavy favorites this year, much higher favorites than 4.5 point road favorites here. Again, you're on the road against a divisional team. Same thing happened with the Texans. Despite the outcome, it's not something I like really picking there. It's just something scary. If you watch my video in the past, I showed you that half of or 70% of all like the Survivor League bounces when you're taking a team that's favored by 3.5 points or more. When you get knocked out of your Survivor League, 70% of the time, it's either a team that's playing on the road or playing against the divisional opponent. So I try to avoid that at all costs. And for that reason, staying away from the Colts. Other team you should be staying away from here are the Browns. And a lot of the reason is that is because, why they are 4.5 point favorites. They're still throwing out Jacoby Brissett at backup quarterback. Anything can happen when you're throwing a backup QB out there. Turnovers, fumbles, anything. It's always like a little bit scarier. I don't think the Jets are as bad this year as they have been in the past. No matter who's playing at their quarterback, I think they've done a good job of getting some skill position guys on offense, and always have a tough defense with head coach Robert Saleh there scheming up on teams. So I'd avoid this one, especially because these guys are favored by 4.5 points. You got guys favored by over touchdowns higher on this list. So these teams really, I don't think you should be considering this week. The best pick, to no surprise, I think is the Rams. While they didn't look great against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football, I don't think that matters that much. Yeah, the Rams aren't going to be able to be the best team in football. They can certainly beat the Falcons, who are, in my opinion, the worst team in football. You're not going to get many games throughout the NFL season where your team that you're picking in Survivor is giving a 90% chance to win the game, favored by 13.5 points at home, coming off a loss against the Bills. A long week to prepare, so that Thursday night to the next week Sunday, you get an extra days to prepare for your opponent. I like that as well. There's no way, in my mind, there's just absolutely no way that the Rams start this season as defending Super Bowl champions at 0-2 and losing both those games on their home turf. It's just something that I would be completely shocked if happened. And so I think the best pick here is easily the Rams. If you're looking for the value pick and you either don't want to pick the Rams because you want to save them for later in the season, or you didn't like what you saw on Thursday Night Football and you want to pick somebody else, I think a great value here would be the 49ers at home against the Seahawks. I did mention I don't like picking, divisional games, and this is a game that I wouldn't pick personally, but because I just picked the Rams. But if you're looking for a value, I think the Niners here are in a really good spot. They don't have a ton of their schedule that I love in the future because they're in a very tough division. And then a really tough just schedule, an out of conference or out of division schedule too. I think they're in a good spot here at home. They're going to do their thing. They're going to run the ball and really rely on, the running game to supplement the offense and take the pressure off the quarterback with Trey Lance. I think their defense is enough to stifle Geno Smith and the Seahawks offense. So I think that'd be a great pick. And you're seeing these guys are favored. They're supposed to win by more than a touchdown. I think they would, just because I think they have way more talent than the Seahawks do. But I think you could say that about most teams playing the Seahawks too. And just going back to what I said, taking a look at this schedule preview, we'll start with the 49ers here at the bottom. I think the value is there because there's not a lot of times in the season, at least up to week 13, where I'm really considering picking the 49ers right now. And the two games I have identified, they're road games. So that's always something a little bit scary to consider too. So I think while they're not as high as favorite as the Rams are, I think it's a really good value pick because there's not too many times later in the season where you think you're going to be picking the 49ers. In the same token, the Rams are obviously in the same division, have this same, out of division teams as the 49ers do. They have a tough schedule going forward too. I really only like them right now against like the Seahawks later and the Carolina in week 6. But you see in week 6, I could pick the Packers who are at home against the Jets, or the Colts are at home against the Jaguars. Not to mention all the other teams that I don't have listed on here. So there are other picks in week 6. So like you really shouldn't be saving the Rams thinking that you can pick them in week 6 because there are better teams there anyways. So for me, I think you have to be taking the Rams here. That's my pick. They're favored by so much. They're coming off a loss. They're at home. They've had a long week to prepare. I think it's a gimme. The Rams this week. If for some reason you're not taking the Rams, I think the Niners are a good value. But any teams from the Niners, Packers, Broncos, and Rams are likely good picks this week. I just think by far the best one are the Los Angeles Rams. Again, coming off a loss, there's no way that this team starts out 0-2 with how much talent they have.